Hello, my name is Otis Lewis Wilson Jr. I am the host of OLWJ Captivation, the podcast featuring boundless superstars and other individuals who are capable of helping you to achieve maximum success with your mind and your money. The podcast can be found on Amazon, Apple, Pandora, Spotify, and other major podcasting platforms. When you check it out, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's OLWJ Captivation.
Welcome to Marci Talks Money and Life with your host, Money Marci.
Hello, I am Money Marci. Welcome. I am thrilled to welcome today's guest, Kate Moir. Kate Moir is your everyday mom who dared to turn her dreams into reality. What started as a desire for a flexible schedule to be a present mom has grown into a mission to empower other women to create the same freedom. Today, Kate helps busy moms build health and wealth on their coffee breaks with practical tools, simple strategies, and real-life resources that actually fit into mom life. She's an international best-selling author, the host of Mamas Making Commas, and the CEO of a thriving six-figure online business. Get ready to be inspired, encouraged, and reminded that your dreams are worth saying yes to. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks so much, Marci.
I'm thrilled to have you here. You are an interesting woman with a fabulous journey. Let's talk about where you came from and the path to where you are.
For sure. And thanks so much for having me. When I saw Marci Money, I was like, I got to talk to this lady because I love talking about money, and not everybody does. But when I was in my 20s, I was like, I'm going to be a CEO by the time I'm 30. I'm going to have my master's by the time I'm 30. I'm going to be married. I'm going to have kids, and it was like, check, 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 check. Checked everything off this list. And then it was like, oh, now I want to just be a mom, And so your priorities, like they say, sometimes it changes. And it definitely changed me from this career-driven individual to, okay, but I also want to be a present mom. And I don't want to work 60 hours a week. And I don't want to, have to choose work over my kids if they're sick. And so there was a moment, and I'll never forget this moment. I had two girls and I had to take my first daughter to daycare, and she was not even 10 months old. And kind of were blessed with long maternity leave, but I dropped her off and the daycare lady was nowhere outside, and there was these two kids running around outside unsupervised. And that was the only daycare available in the entire town. Might have been a reason, but I opened up the door after 10 minutes. I was knocking on the door and the lady didn't open the door what felt like 10 minutes. Maybe it was 2, I don't know. But it was long enough that I was like, I cannot have my kid go to this daycare. And it was that moment that was like, how can I get out of having to put my kids in daycare? How can I be able to make income from home so that I don't have to choose between my kids' safety and work? And so, then it was just a journey of how to find ways to create that life so that our family could still be comfortable without having to choose work over kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when did you have the kids? Because I've got 2017 was a significant date for you. How old were your kids at the time?
Okay. So 2014, I had my first daughter. 2016, I had my second daughter. And so my journey was building up this backup plan over the course of 3 years. And in 2017, I was driving to a meeting. I'll never forget it. I needed to be in 2 places at once for work, which is impossible, right? So at work, I needed to be 2 humans, and then you still have your whole home life and mom life and wife life and friend life. And I thought I was having a heart attack. And so I ended up calling my boss. I said, I think I'm having like a heart attack. I need to go to the doctor, to the emerge. I called my husband. He met me at the hospital with our kids. And they said, you didn't have a heart attack, but you had a panic attack. And it was because my stress level was so high. And so at that time, my husband said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I said, I want to go to the accountant and I want to see, did I save enough money? Have we paid off enough debt in order for me to quit my job? And so for my birthday that year, that's what we did. We went to the accountant, we did the numbers, and he showed us a path that yes, I had paid off enough. I had paid off all of our line of credit. We had about $50,000 in line of credit. We paid off all of that. We had no credit card debt, and I had saved enough money that I had that nest egg, enough that I could take that chance because I had built something on my coffee breaks, because I had changed my lunchtime from scrolling the internet to being productive in order to build something that I could walk away from that 9 to 5.
I have to tell you, I don't think I have ever been a birthday present to any of my clients.
Well, if you do, he bought us lunch, so that's the only requirement, I guess. Make sure you buy them lunch afterwards, but yeah, it was fun.
Okay. And what you did was you were in city planning.
Yeah, I was a planner, so we help people with subdivisions, design, development, help communities make decisions, and I loved what I do. And I still sometimes help out here and there because I loved what I did. It wasn't that I didn't love my job. It's just that I didn't love having to be where they needed me to be 24/7.
And that makes sense because when you are working full-time for someone else, you can have a very rigid schedule. After my kids were born, I did consulting, I did tax season, I was my own boss on a part-time schedule that worked for me, that I could control. I would show up at my clients' offices at the times that worked for me. I would say, okay, well, we've got to come here. Here's the times that we need to kind of get together in that period, and we'll play it by ear. And they'd say, okay, well, you can't come these days, and they got everything done that they needed to get done for them. It worked in the schedule that I needed, and people don't think to ask. People don't think to kind of check out that they have these options. So that had to be very powerful and very unique for you to do that. Your CPA bought you lunch, your financial planner, whatever type you were talking to, bought you lunch because they were so excited that someone thought of them as a birthday present.
I think it's more my husband said, so now you're going to buy us lunch, right? He's like, yeah, I guess so. They're friends. They play hockey together. I don't know if he does that for everyone. But yeah, it was a nice gesture for sure.
Okay. And what was your transition like?
Oh, so it started mapping it out. Probably it took me 30 days to actually leave. And so I remember I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll give my notice on in the new year or just before Christmas break. And there was a file, and I think there's really great managers and leaders out there, and then there's ones that are just they probably need a course. And this particular day, I came into the office, and I remember my boss coming in and just yelling at me, not just kindly telling me hey, let's have a conversation, what happened. It was ripping me up and down for something that I had warned her, that if we push this file too fast, because sometimes people are rushing, they want to push a file through, and so they change the deadlines and they make it go faster, and it's sometimes going fast can cause error. And so it's how did you miss this? Get it. And I just looked at her, and it was the most empowering moment of my life. Really, I looked at her and I said, would you like my resignation today? Or would you like it on January 1st? And she said, what? And I said, I was already planning on quitting. So you just made it really, really easy, because I will never be talked to this way again in my entire life. And her jaw dropped. And she's like, but what are you going to do? And I said, I have the ability financially to not work here. And so unlike everyone else, I don't have to suck it up. I don't have to take this energy or this issue anymore. And she's like, oh my gosh, well, is there anything I can do to convince you to stay? I was like, no, I'm done. Because I had the empowerment, I had the financial ability to leave that 9 to 5. I didn't have all my eggs in a retirement plan that I might get in 25 years. I was able to put my mental health, and that panic attack was because of the intense stress that our job was demanding from us, and I was giving my family the worst. And I wanted to reverse it. I wanted to reverse the stress load. I wanted to put my family first, my health first, before work. And it was kind of the opposite. And so, so that moment. So then I gave my notice. She said, I need you to work the first week of January because so-and-so's on vacation. I said, no problem. I will work until January, whatever. And then I was able to just walk away. So that was it. That was my transition.
And how long had you been starting this side project?
In 2015, September of 2015, I was pregnant with my second, and I had just gone back to work for the first time, and that's when that daycare incident had happened. And so it was kind of like, okay, let's see what this could do. Let's see if this is the ability to put my health and my family before work. And so I just built it up as fast as I possibly could. And then on maternity leave with my second daughter, I really doubled down. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to take the season off, enjoy your child. And it's like, they sleep 21 hours of the day. I can only clean so much or rest so much. And so even my toddler still had naps. And so I just worked my business through that maternity leave so that when I went back to work, it was like, I already knew that it was temporary. I knew that it wasn't a long-term situation, so that I could resign in that fall of 2017.
And what kind of business was it that you were building at that point?
So I was doing online sales and in-person sales for a company, and we were just having tons of fun. I just feel like I remember, people like, this is how you make money? I'm like, yeah, this is how I make money. But, it was a bit of a hamster wheel, and it did start to kind of have ebbs and flows, and there was no repeat income, and, it wasn't sustainable. And so in 2020, I had made another shift, and we can talk about that if you want, because I had a health scare with my neck. And then again in 2024, I made another shift because I finally realized sales are great, and I love sales, and I'm good at sales. But if each month you're starting at zero and you're constantly hustling for a sale, and you have no repeat income, nothing that is passive or that you can rely on, then you don't have that peace and certainty. And so over the course of 2017 and 2024, I was constantly looking for a second stream of income or a third stream of income, looking for ways to supplement because I didn't have that peace and certainty. Where now I feel like I've been able to build up my income, that it's like there's calmness, and I don't feel stressed, which is the ultimate goal. Have money coming in, not feeling stressed, being able to pay for your bills and then some. Kind of feel like it's like the dream life right now.
That sounds excellent. Let's take a quick break here. You started in 2015 with an online business. You stayed with it a few years. That was the business you were in when you were able to say, yeah, I'm comfortable leaving my job. And a little later you realized that maybe there was a better company for an online business. And so this is partnering with an online sales, and we all know of many different things that are out there, so I don't want to name any names. Mm-hmm. And you stayed with that for a few years, and then you transitioned to the one that you are currently with.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can tell us about that if you'd like.
Yeah. I think, what I realized was my first company, I sold a product that people needed once, right? A one-time sale. Maybe they'd buy a second item here or there, but it wasn't an essential item. It was a fun kind of item. So then in 2020, I needed neck surgery, and I went to a different company, and they promised, it's subscription based and you're going to have all these sales. And I was like, okay, well, this sounds great. And so I did that. And then I realized, but they can just turn on and off their subscription, which is great. I don't like subscriptions. I've learned not to love subscriptions, but it wasn't stable. And so what I noticed in both of those companies, it was very much the typical network marketing, recruit, try to get people to join, buy things. And we had a ton of stock. We had just had a ton of stock. And people were buying their rank and they were buying their status. And they had fake accounts and it just wasn't really great. There was great memories. There was so much fun. There was so many trips. Literally, I'm grateful for both of those opportunities. But as a model perspective, there was zero guarantee. There was zero repeat income. And it was a lot of ups and downs from an income perspective. And so I looked for a year of, is there anything out there? And I almost was at the point where I was like, after looking at over 50, and I'm a numbers person, I love math. I love money. I love helping other people. But even as a coach for a while, I was like, I couldn't even coach people in other companies because I was like, the company plan is designed for you to constantly be stuck and constantly chasing the next thing. And there was no calmness. And so the company I ended up deciding to partner with now is the opposite. It's 100% customers and it's not a recruit model. And so for me, it just creates that true because people need what I buy, what I share. They're buying it anyways. I don't know about you, but this morning alone, I brushed my teeth. I poured myself a cup of coffee. I took some multivitamins, threw on some makeup so that I looked half decent for you. Washed my hands, had a shower, washed my hair, washed my body, washed my face, threw on some eye cream because I'm a mom. And so the bags under my eyes were probably a little bit more than you would want. And so if you think just me alone, those amount of things, I'm not the only person. And that's not including my daughter having a multivitamin, taking her probiotic, her washing her face, her brushing her teeth, my husband taking his electrolyte drink he takes every morning, and so these everyday items that people were already buying, if I could save them money, time, and also reduce the toxin load in their house so that they could feel, healthier and have a healthier home, I'm like, that's a no-brainer. And it's customer focused. I don't have to try to get people to sell all the time. That felt very authentic to me. And so that's the model that I decided to choose.
And it seems to be working for you.
Yeah, it seems to be working. Yeah. It was funny because I was denied coverage yesterday from our home insurance to include my business just under a basic home insurance plan. I have to get a commercial grade insurance. She said, and she's like, unfortunately, you kind of make too much money. And I said, well, it's not a bad thing. Just tell me how much it is and I'll buy it through my business as a write-off. And then I will save $1,000 on my home insurance. Thank you very much. So being able to make decisions, is very empowering.
That's true. And you even bring up a good point there is when you make money, spending that money to do the right thing, to get the right insurance, whatever else, it doesn't feel like it's a burden. Oh no, I made too much money, so I have to spend a little bit of money to do the right thing to take care of my business.
Yeah. And I never felt that with the other companies. If somebody said, you owe this much, like I was stressed out, And I remember one accountant at the time, because I felt like I was a little Mickey Mouse and, until 2022, until I became a corporation, and I remember her being like, you kind of treat your business like an ATM machine, and she says, you make money, you spend money, and you don't really have any strategy. And so then I moved over to a corporation and I started paying myself a wage as if I was working full time. So that should anything ever blow up, heaven forbid, and I had to go back. Okay, so I don't plan on going back full time, but if I had to, I pay myself the exact amount I would make if I was to go and get a job, like a real 9-to-5 job, and I think that's one thing that, I love about the company that I chose is they want you to achieve financial freedom. They don't want you to buy the fancy car and live beyond your means to show this luxurious life to attract people to you, that you're going to make millions of dollars. It's no, be humble, work hard, pay off all anything that you owe, and like achieve financial freedom. And for me, I love that mentality as well, because now it's like, yeah, we just live a comfortable, normal life, but we can build up this income, and we have a rainy day fund, and we have things paid off, and we're able to, build that life of peace and certainty. And I don't think you can put money on that, like a dollar sign.
And then you became an author and a podcaster.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's something fun, right? It's fun to chat to people. It's fun to, add value. It's fun to share what has worked for you. And I thought at first, maybe I don't have anything to say in a book, right? I was asked to write a chapter in a book, and I was like, I don't know. And I was flying to Punta Cana with my mom, and on the flight, I was like, you know what? Let's just see if I could write something of value. And so I started writing on the plane, and by the time we landed 5 hours later, I was done my chapter. And it was just like, okay, like, here you go. Like, I don't know if it's good. If it's good, feel free to use it. And if it's not, like, throw it out. It's fine. And they're like, no, this is probably one of the most value-added chapters in this book, because you gave people tangible strategies of how to maximize their 15 minutes in a day. And that's what I'm passionate about, because as moms, we're lucky if we can get 15 minutes uninterrupted, especially if the kids are at home or you're working full time and you're building something on your coffee break. You need to be focusing on the highest return on your activity, right? And so, what is going to move the needle the fastest versus, making this cute little graphic and spending 15 minutes on a graphic. Like, that is not going to make you money. Nobody looks at a graphic and be like, yes, I'm going to buy whatever it is because of this one graphic. No, they're going to buy because you reached out to them, you built a relationship with them, and you added value, and you have something that they need.
Well, can you tell us about the book in your chapter?
Yeah, so it was, I think it was the 22, this is terrible that I don't know the exact name. I think it's like the 22 most influential network marketers in the industry. And so it was just a chapter. There was 22 chapters, and each of us got to share our journey and our tips and tricks. And and then there was a book launch, and I remember it was during my neck surgery. So I'm like, got this like scar, I've got this cast on, and they're doing the launch, and I look terrible. Like I was in a car accident, which I wasn't. I chose the surgery, but it was fun. It was fun to launch a book while you're recovering, sitting on the back deck, watching your kids in the pool. It was fun to get to know these other 21 people and their stories and build relationships across the world through this opportunity. I definitely loved it. It was fun.
Okay. And when did you get into podcasting?
Same summer. Same summer. I was kind of stuck during recovery. I couldn't really go out and about. I couldn't drive. I couldn't really walk too far from my house for 6 weeks. And so I remember one day I couldn't sleep, and I woke up and I was like, I wonder how hard it is to start a podcast. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel this calling. And so I remember getting up at 6 a.m., coming downstairs, Googling how to launch a podcast. And within an hour, I had recorded my podcast and launched my podcast. And it's evolved, right? Just like anything else, we grow, we evolve, we learn, and we tweak. But it was a fun thing to do, and it allowed me to connect with so many amazing women across the world. One lady lived in Australia, one person lived in Dubai, a person in India, and then, everywhere around the States and Canada. And it was just fun, and how these people and I have somebody you really need to talk to. Oh, and I think this person would be a really great guest. I'm like, yeah, sure. Put them in touch. And it got to build such an amazing network. And again, be reminded that there's so many women dreaming of a different life, and they just don't know how. But some of us decided to do it with a plan. Okay, that's me. I'm a planner. Maybe it was what I did for a living. I was a planner. Some ladies quit their job with no plan. I do not recommend, leaving and not having a financial nest egg and not having a plan of what you're going to do. But it worked out. Whether they had a plan or didn't have a plan, I think as women, we just do what we need to do to make it happen. right? When you're passionate enough about it, when you're hungry enough, you're going to figure it out, because we just do that. We just, as women, we just figure it out. But no, but we figure it out and we take action, because as moms, it's not just us, it's our kids. And so we will fight more, we will work harder for our children than sometimes it will do for ourselves.
That is definitely true. Mama bears all of us. Let's take a quick break here. Well, let me see where I am on here. We're covering so much stuff. This is awesome. You've always been a planner, I assume.
Oh yeah, like kindergarten, like before kindergarten. My mom would have a daycare and she's like, what are we doing today, Kate? I'm like, well, first we're going to do this and then we're going to do that. And for lunch, we're going to have this. And, I think I was 3. And then she's like, I loved it because I didn't have to think, what are we going to eat today? And I didn't have to think, how was I going to entertain these kids today? She's like, you just figured it out for me. And I knew they'd like it because you were 3 or 4. And so it was fun for the kids. So I think I've always been a planner.
I think at 3 and 4, I would have wanted peanut butter and jelly for lunch every day. My mom hated peanut butter. It made her crazy, but that's all I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, peanut butter and banana, peanut butter and apple. I mean, you really can't go wrong.
Exactly. I feel badly for people who have allergies and can't have peanut butter. But yeah, at that age, it was my basic food group. So your mom was an entrepreneur, having a daycare. You always saw that growing up. Did you learn financial literacy growing up? Did your family kind of talk about money things and when they had to make financial decisions?
I definitely grew up where my parents did a lot of things through cash. Like they didn't take on like credit card debt and whatnot. But I could definitely see the struggle, that there was not enough. And some months were tight. And I remember one year, we went to this vacation with all these other families and they had these super expensive, elaborate gifts and we had our one item. And I remember going to back to school shopping and my mom say, here's $100. Like that's all I got. So here's $100. You can go and buy a pair of jeans, an expensive pair of jeans, or I can take you to Valley Village and we can like outfit your entire wardrobe, And so I learned early on that money is not endless. You have to work really hard for your money. You have to save. I remember my dad had this big Coke bottle and he'd put change in the Coke bottle and, we would count it all up and we would use that to go on vacation. So money I knew had value and I knew that you had to sometimes be very, not like cheap, but frugal, and savvy with your money, but never to the point of like, here's like, this is how much you save, this is how much you spend, this is how much you give. Like we never really talked to that depth because I don't know if we ever had enough that we felt comfortable or overflowing of money. And so I think my hunger for more happened when I was 16 and I had a job. And by 17, I had 3 jobs. And so I would work one job in the morning at the seniors' home serving breakfast and lunch. Then I would go and take family photos at the portrait studio at Walmart. And then at night, I would go and restock the shelves at the Gap. Like, in one summer, I felt like I had worked a year in like 2 months because I had worked 3 times a day in some instances because I wanted that car, because I wanted to travel, because I wanted to do things. And I knew that if I wanted stuff, I had to earn it. Like nobody was going to hand it to me. So that has really created as a big part. There's other parts too, but that is a big part of my work ethic is I'm okay with rolling up my sleeves and doing whatever is necessary.
And what financial literacy are you teaching to your children?
Yeah, so like now my kids, like one, I'm so grateful, but they are not materialistic kids. Like even for the Christmas is like, what do you want? And they're like, I don't know, like I have one item that I want from Santa. So like they asked the biggest item from Santa. And they said, but really like maybe just like, I don't know, like a board game, maybe some craft supplies. Like my kids are happy with just very little. And then when they make money, like if they get money for Christmas or money for birthdays, like they don't go and spend it and blow on it. They're like, I don't know if that's like really what I want to spend my money on. And so sometimes I'll ask them, how much money do you have? And they're like, I don't know. And then they count it up. They're like, I have $560. I'm like, you have $560? Like, we gotta go put that in the bank, Like, you gotta save it, But it's okay to spend it. It's okay to spend a little bit if it's something you really want. But, if you see something in the store and you're like, oh, I want this. I'm like, why don't you think about it for 24 hours? Like, if it's a big purchase, like, let's think about it for 24 hours. And do you still want it tomorrow when you're not in front of the store, in front of that item? Most of the time they don't, right? And if it is, then we'll go back and get it, right? Or you want a phone, like some kids, they want the expensive phone and the nice phone. And my kids are 9 and 11. They don't need a phone, right? But we have old phones that still work, that function, that they can face chat their friends. I'm like, you can use this phone. They're excited. Like, they don't need the new things and the fancy things. They're not name brand kids. And so I think I've taught them over the years that we can spend money on stuff, or we can spend money on memories and having fun. And so they would way rather go on a vacation and travel than have a room full of toys.
That's nice.
Which is good, because I'd like to hang out with my kids until I'm no longer considered cool, or because they have a job and they can't take time off, right? So last year we did Disneyland, and the year before, I think we did Mexico, and the year before we did something, and we went on a Disney cruise, and this year we're going to Mexico, and they love travel and can't wait to take them overseas next.
Oh, very nice. And that brings me to, I know it's important to you about the balance between you can make more money, but you can't buy more time, and how you put that into your life.
Yeah. Well, it's true though. Like, think about it. You can always work more. You can always save more money. You can always, invest. You can always do different things to produce more money, right, in your life. But I can't go to the bank and say, can I get more days? Tomorrow is not a guarantee, right? We plan for tomorrow. We prepare for tomorrow and hope that we get to live this long life of health and vitality, but it's not a guarantee. And I think when I hit 40, and now I'm 41, but it's like you almost come into this like sandwich era where it's like you're starting to see, the loss of people that you love. You're starting to see some people around your age going through some things, whether it's a health perspective or suddenly passing. And you see younger people passing, and you're like, wow, like, life is a gift. Tomorrow is a gift. It's not a guarantee. And I can't buy that time. I can't go and pay anybody to have more time. I saw something yesterday, actually, and it was pretty profound. It's like the funeral effect. And it's like, there's probably about 10 people that cry, and I haven't verified the data, so can't say for sure. But they said about 10 people on average cry in your funeral, and half the people won't even come if it's a rainy day. And we live our life a lot for the acceptance and value of other people's opinions. But at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is who are those 10 people, right? And I want to spend as much time with my kids and my best friend and my mom and my dad and my husband, those are the people. Those are the people that matter the most, because those are the people who care about me the most. So, if you are kind of holding back because of other people's opinions, like, just stop. Just stop letting other people dictate your future and hold you back from your dreams, because those people don't matter. Like, I hate to say it, they don't matter. And sometimes it's your most loved ones that are criticizing your dreams or holding you back. But it's your life, and you have to do what fills your cup and live this one life, right, to what you want it to be. And so if you're kind of like, I feel like that nudge in my heart is like, I just want what this girl has, or I want a different life and I'm not sure how, like, reach out to somebody, like reach out to Marci, reach out to me, reach out to somebody that you admire and say, how did you do it? Would you walk me through it? Would you help me? Because people love, like, good people love to share and help others, just like you are with this podcast. Helping others doesn't cost anything. I'll share one more thing is I went to a conference recently, And the gentleman is part of Peace by Chocolate. He owns Peace by Chocolate. If you don't know that company, look it up. It's an amazing mission. But he talked about something so profound that it really shifted my mind. So I always thought about return on investment. Okay, like if I do this, I'm going to make this much money. Or if I give this, I'm going to have, I just believe in karma, right? I just believe in, if I give this, like it comes back in tenfold. But he shifted it and he said return on kindness. And what if more people did return on kindness? If I give out kindness, and I think of it as like karma, but if I give out kindness and share and help others for free and freely, it'll always come back. I've never worried. And even in 99, I remember my mom got a bill and she's like, I just don't know how how it's going to happen. I said, Mom, the universe always provides. I said, don't worry about it. Worrying doesn't make anything better. It makes it worse, right? And I remember, the next day she opened up the mail and there was a check for the exact amount of money that she needed. And so as a young teenager, I could already tell worrying about the negative and focusing on the negative produced more negative. But if you had faith and confidence and just believe and be a kind human, like things always seem to work out. And so some people say you're so lucky. I'm like, no, like I just really believe that there's no point in stressing. Just keep doing. And if it feels right and authentic and kind and it's helpful or adding value, like there's no harm. You're not hurting anybody by helping.
True. Definitely true. Kate Moir, thank you so much for being my guest today. Do you have anything you want to add that maybe we didn't cover?
No, I just think whatever business you're in, if you are looking at growing something, whether it's sales or services or whatnot, ask for help. Learn from other people instead of being stubborn and trying to do it yourself, because save yourself the stress, right? 2, take bold action faster. Like listen to your intuition and just follow your gut, because worrying about the what ifs is going to hold you back and hurt you in the long run, right? So like anytime that I have obsessed over like, I just don't know, you know what? I end up doing what in my gut I knew from the beginning, but I just stressed about it for like 2 months, so that was not income producing. And how much further ahead could I have been if I took swifter action? And the third thing is like, it never hurts to collaborate and work with other people. Like, don't look at every single person as competition. Like, I just feel the more we can collaborate, brainstorm, rise, and work with each other, again, like across all industries and companies, the more you will thrive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being my guest today. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Thanks so much for having me.
To my listeners, I will be sharing a link to Kate's information in the show notes. Please check her out. She has so much interesting information, and she loves to share. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and stay tuned. I'll see you next time. This has been Money Marci on Marci Talks Money and Life. You got this.